Oi, what is happening, everybody? Welcome to my channel. Smooth Jimmy welcomes you to my channel. It's time for the last Balls Deep breakdown of the week because my drunk ass is about to go on vacation for the entire weekend and lose a whole ton of brain cells. And it is going to be a whole lot of fun. But I had to get one more Balls Deep breakdown out there for you guys this week. And we are going to finish up this week's content with Punahele Soriano versus Brendan Allen, UFC Vegas 32. Let's get some numbers up on the screen here. Let's get that off. We got this zoomed in pretty good here. Fantastic. We got a lot of numbers. We got my guy Big Brady in the house. Here we go. We got my guy Chris Colanzis in the house ready to break this down. I'm ready to break this one down. So let's get to it, and let's start like we always do with the tail of the tape, my guys. We got Brendan Allen here, still very young, 25 years old, and Punahele Soriano, 28 years old. We got Brendan Allen with a 3-inch reach advantage. We got Brendan Allen with a 3-inch height advantage. And this is a southpaw versus orthodox fight. We got Brendan Allen, who used to be training out of Rufus Sports, has now moved down to South Florida and is working with the gang at Sanford MMA, one of the hottest camps going right now. And we got Puna coming out of Extreme Couture, both of these guys, United States. So let's get into the pro experience here because this is a really interesting matchup here. This is something that I'm going to call a striker versus grappler matchup. Brendan Allen has got a lot of wins by using his wrestling, top game submissions, and Punahele Soriano just flat out knocks dudes out. So this is going to look like a stylistic matchup, in my opinion, where Brendan Allen is going to be safe when he's trying to get this fight to the ground and is in top control, and Punahele is going to feel most safe when this fight is standing and he's throwing those trademark bombs that he's known for, because he is flat out taking dudes' heads off. And wait until you see us get into the power numbers here for this guy. It is flat out legit. So if we look at the pro experience here, we see that Brendan Allen is the much more experienced fighter. More than twice as many pro fights, with 20 for only 8 for Soriano. We got a 16-4 record for Brendan Allen and an 8-0 record for Puna. We've got a huge cage time advantage here for Brendan Allen. He has spent a lot more time learning in the cage than Punahele Soriano has, because he's got 177 and a half minutes of cage time, which is a good veteran number, while Punahele only has 33 minutes of cage time. So even though he's got 8 fights, he's really got a little bit more than 2 decision wins in his pocket, because 2 decision wins would be 30 minutes. This guy's got 33. So we're not surprised when we see a 4.13 minute average fight time for Puna. He gets in, he gets out. He takes your head off real quick. While Brendan Allen, no slouch in the finishing department in his own right, as his average fight time is 8.88 minutes. And we see that even though Brendan Allen has 12 more professional fights than Puna, he's only been doing this a little more than a year longer. So Brendan Allen has a big-time experience advantage in terms of the number of fights, the amount of cage time, and the how busy he's been, because he has had 20 fights in 6 years. So he's getting more than 3 fights per year in, while for Puna, it's a little bit more. No, it's not even 2 fights a year. So, Puna just has not been as active as Brendan Allen has in his pro career. And if we look at the UFC experience, Brendan Allen doubling up Puna, they both have a Contender Series fight that I am counting in those numbers. Brendan Allen, 5-1, very impressive record, and Punahele Soriano still undefeated, obviously, in the UFC, because he's undefeated as a pro with a 3-0 record. We see the cage time. He's got about twice as much cage time does Brendan Allen at 43 minutes in the UFC, as Punahele's got 23, and the average fight time between 7 and 8 minutes for both of them. So let's look at the finish stats here and see how these guys are winning fights, because we've got definitely some interesting finishing numbers here. We see Puna overall with an 88% finish rate in his pro wins, 25% of them by sub, which means 2, and 63% of them by knockout, which means 5. So 7 of his 8 professional wins have come inside the distance. Dude is a legit finisher. While we've got Brendan Allen with a 56% sub rate and a 31% knockout rate. So he's got 87% of his professional wins have come by submission. So that's 14 out of his 16 wins. So if we add up the 24 wins of Brendan Allen and Punahele Soriano, we get 7 plus 14 equals 21 out of 24 of these guys' wins have come inside the distance. So almost a 90% combined finish rate for both of these guys when they win. And how do they lose fights? Well, for Puna, that's a really easy question because he's never lost a fight. And we got Brendan Allen with 4 professional losses. One of them has come by submission. One of them has come by knockout. The other 2 have come by decision. So in their 4 combined losses, they have lost inside the distance half the time. So those are the experience and the finish stats and the tail of the tape for these 2 guys. Let's see what you guys got to say in the chat here. What are we talking about in here? Right, so let's see. We got Thomas Howard in the house, my guy. What is up, Thomas? Thanks for joining us, man. Appreciate it. My guy Riff Raff, a new subscriber. What's going on, dude? Going to be a banger. Thank you for the breakdown and all the work. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, I'm working late tonight because I still got to pack for my trip tomorrow, and I'll be up a little bit late doing that, but that's all right, man. We got to get this last video of the week in here, and then I can worry about a little bit of vacation. And don't worry about it. Even though I will be out of town until Sunday, I will be back on Pub Sports Radio Sunday night with my man DFS by the Numbers doing everybody's favorite new show in the MMA space, man, Stat Diggers on Pub Sports. I can't wait for that one. We got a 15-fight card coming up next week. So we got our work cut out for us, Brady and I do. So we're going to get to that, though, and I will be back in time to do that. We got the general in the room. He's taking notes. He's saying, let's go. Let's go, General. We got Nick Alexander right here. He is also taking notes. My man Nick in the house. Alex saying what's up to Nick. Nick saying what's up to Alex. I say what's up to both of you guys. We got Headley one in the room. Violence parlay. Yeah, dude. My man DFS by the Numbers and I, we were kind of talking in the Discord earlier today about some potential violence parlays that are looking really good this week. And there are so many good fights on this card that probably aren't going to go to decision. Soriano Allen, in my opinion, is one of them. And then we're talking also about the Giannis Costa fight. We're talking about which other ones? What am I missing here in my sheet? The Belbita Goldie fight? No, certainly not that one. Oh, Eubanks Reed probably is going to finish inside the distance. And then definitely, I think this one is a really good one to look at as well. And then Elkins Minner is a fight that I'm going to probably be betting the under on as well. And we got Thomas saying, don't see this one reaching the judges. Yeah, man, we're going to get it. Once we saw those finish stats, it's pretty clear with a 90% finish rate on the offensive side. And then we also see that this is a striker versus grappler matchup. So whoever's most successful in implementing their game plan is most likely going to be knocking the other one out or subbing the other one, because we have no idea how Puna looks on the ground on his back, because we haven't even seen that in the UFC. And we have seen Brendan Allen standing up, and he's very hittable when he's standing up. So I just see this fight finishing inside the distance, and it just depends on which one of these guys successfully implements their game plan. And if we can figure that out, then we'll have a pretty good idea of who's going to win this fight. And yeah, my man Brady definitely agrees here, saying violence. You know, we've got Riff Raff saying that if Allen brings some IQ, this fight could be interesting. And that is so true, because we didn't see that IQ when he took on Strickland. He chose to stand and bang with Strickland. It didn't work out with him. And as a matter of fact, I think Strickland took him down and had some top control and had some success in the grappling in his own right. So, yeah, it's going to depend on Brendan Allen really kind of being the type of Brendan Allen that we saw early in his UFC career, where he came in, grappled, really went after the takedown and sold out for it, and used his striking to set up those takedowns. And, with Puna having that high school background in wrestling, state champion wrestler in Hawaii, it might be difficult to take him down. And we got Nick saying, Brady, thanks for those third-round stats on Sajara Eubanks. Yeah, I think he just, we were talking about that as well. I think he was retweeting, giving the credit to my man Sparring with Reality over there, Luke, who came up with that those numbers, because Sajara's had a reputation of being a gasser, but if you've noticed lately, she doesn't gas, and she's actually performing very well late in fights. So yeah, that was a great retweet, and it was a great catch by Brady there. Metalingus in the house, dude. That's such a great name. I love it. Hi. You think this fight is going to be like Vieira Hernandez, where Vieira gasses out? The same thing will happen to Puna if the fight goes over 1.5 rounds. Well, yeah, that's one of the things that we're going to look at when we look at the stats on Puna, is that, this guy is not going late into fights because he's taking people's heads off. And because he's undefeated, we really don't have any idea if Puna does lose, how is he going to lose? We haven't seen it yet. So sometimes it's hard to picture those things. And it's only easy to picture, Puna's probably going to land some big shots in the first round and get him out of there, because that's what we've seen out of him. Well, what happens if the fight gets extended to the second round, to the third round? A dude who's carrying that much muscle on him, who throws everything into every strike, you could definitely see him gas out. And it can go both ways here, because if Brendan Allen is aggressive and going after takedowns consistently, we can see him gas out if he's unsuccessful getting those takedowns, because there's very few things in the MMA space that are more exhausting than offensive wrestling in an unsuccessful fashion. And we got Indigo in the room here saying, love these breakdowns, Weezy. Thank you for joining us, Indigo. I appreciate it. And we got Nick saying, Allen at Sanford now, so will that improve his fight IQ? He's been at Sanford for the last 2 fights. He was at Sanford when he fought Sean Strickland. And I think that's part of the reason that he thought that his striking would be good enough to stand with Strickland. So the IQ needs to come. It needs to come, because he didn't quite have it in the Strickland fight, and he did have it in the Roberson fight, but he did stand and bang with Roberson for about the first 2.5, 3 minutes of the first round. He was getting pieced up. So let's look at these striking stats, because they're very important for this fight. So we've got a limited sample size for Soriano, only 3 wins. He's landing 4.46 significant strikes per minute out of 10.22 offered, 43.64% striking accuracy. Here's the number that jumps off the page, though. Puna, in 103 significant strikes landed, has 3 knockdowns for a .0388, 3.88% knockdowns per total significant strikes landed. So that's pretty much tops in the division. 2.6 knockdowns per 15 minutes. So this guy has got legitimate power, and even though he's only landed 103 strikes, 3 of those have been knockdowns. So the guy brings crazy power to the table. While for Brendan Allen, we've got 3.35 significant strikes landed out of only 5.69 thrown per minute. He is landing at a very high clip at about 59%. He's getting also 1.38% knockdowns per total significant strikes landed. So that means he's landed 2 knockdowns in his own right in 145 strikes for 0.69 knockdowns per 15 minutes. So Brendan Allen showing a much higher striking percentage, because he spends a lot of time in top control. And if we just scroll down a little bit here, we can see this control time number right here at 37%. So, 3/8 of this guy's fights, he's in a top control, throwing down ground and pound. And I will have you know that Brendan Allen's ground and pound is flat out nasty. So this is a situation where if he gets on top, he's very dangerous. And that striking accuracy that you see there is a function of the fact that he has found himself in a lot of top control positions thus far in the UFC and has done very well in them. If we look at the defensive numbers now, we see that both of these guys have got interesting ratios here that they're working with. We got 2.86 significant strikes landed per minute out of 6.02 offered for a 52.52% striking defense. We've got no Punahele has never been knocked down in his UFC career either. While we have got Brendan Allen with 4.18 significant strikes landed against him per minute out of 7 offered for a only 39% striking defense. You guys, this is a big number here. Brendan Allen, if you watch the tape on him, you will see that when they are standing, when they are in the center of the cage, this dude gets hit a ton. And it shows right there on the page with that 39.87% striking defense. If this fight stays standing for too long, despite the fact that Brendan Allen has been training at Sanford, despite the fact that he's a very young man, and it's quite likely that we're going to see his striking improve by leaps and bounds by being at Sanford and being as young as he is. There's so much room for improvement, and he has been fighting very high level fights from a very young age. So Brendan Allen has a very high ceiling, but he has not worked out that striking defense yet. He has not figured out how to not be hittable on the feet yet. And that is an absolutely horrible thing to be against Punahele Soriano when he is landing a knockdown at almost 4%. That's 1 out of 25 significant strikes that land knock somebody on their ass. When you're getting hit at a 60% clip, it's just a matter of time if he hasn't fixed that striking defense on the feet until Puna knocks him out. And it'll probably come in the first round if he hasn't worked that out. And Puna's, he's never been taken down, but he's never actually been shot on in the UFC either. So that, this is something that we're missing a little bit of information here. We really don't know what Puna's takedown defense looks like. But let's look at these grappling stats, because they're also very important, because as a striker versus grappler matchup, we're going to need to see whether Brendan has a chance to take this dude down and whether Puna is going to have a chance to stop it. So Puna is a state champion wrestler. I already mentioned that. He's been 4 out of 6 on his takedown attempts. So 3 fights and 6 takedown attempts. So at least he is going for takedowns here. He's getting them at a 2/3 clip. He's averaging 2.6 per 15 minutes. And he's got 8.09% control time, while he's only allowing 1.59% control time. So really good thus far. He's used his wrestling to stay on top. And but what we haven't seen yet is whether Puna can actually use his wrestling defensively to stop his opponent from taking him down, because in his 3 fights, he's had 0 takedowns attempted against him. So how is he going to look if Brendan shoots on him? It's hard to say. Now, he's built like a fire hydrant. He's extremely muscular, and he does have that background in wrestling. So, logic would tell us that it's going to be very difficult for him to take him down. And since Brendan Allen didn't even shoot a takedown against Sean Strickland, we don't really know if, how much he's going to commit to the wrestling here. But let's look at Brendan's numbers too. So we got Brendan Allen is 5-1 in the UFC. So that's 6 UFC fights. And we see up here that, am I even sharing my fucking screen? Oh my God. I am just on screen here fucking talking to you guys, and I'm not even sharing my screen. This is incredible. My fault. Dear God. I apologize profusely, everybody. Anyway, so all those stats that I was telling you about, I hope you were listening, because they weren't even up on the fucking screen. But now that they are, yeah, long days, right, PayPal? We've got 4 for 6 for Puna, 5 for 10 on Brendan Allen's takedown attempts. So 6 UFC fights for Brendan Allen. He's got 10 takedowns. He's got 10 takedown attempts. He's gotten 5 of them. So 50% takedown accuracy for Brendan, which is excellent. He's getting 1.73% or 1.73 takedowns for 15 minutes, and he's getting 2.08 submission attempts for 15 minutes. So when he is taking his opponents down, he's very active with submissions as well. He's got 37% control time, and he's allowing 32% control time. So it's very clear that Brendan Allen and Punahele Soriano, when we look at these grappling statistics, that Puna is used to being in fights where over 90% of the fight takes place in the center of the cage at striking range. While if we add up the control time numbers for Allen here, we see 37 plus 33, that's 70. So that means only 30% of Brendan Allen's fights are taking place in the center of the cage at striking range. So who's going to win the stylistic matchup? Is this going to be a Punahele Soriano fight where this takes place in the center of the cage and these two are throwing bombs at each other? Or is it going to be a Brendan Allen style fight, which is the type of fight that we've seen him win, which is where the fight is maybe switching positions on the ground a lot. It's on the cage. There's takedowns, there was reversals, there's submission attempts, there's ground and pound. If Allen can get the fight into that world, it's probably, especially if he gets on top, is probably going to be good for him. The thing that worries me about Brendan Allen is he rolls for leg locks an awful lot. And the kind of ground and pound that you see from a guy like Soriano with that kind of strength and that kind of base, if he ineffectively rolls for leg locks and takes a couple of shots while he's trying to get that, Soriano will sleep him on the ground just as easily as he will on the feet. So this is the stylistic matchup that we have to worry about, whether Brendan Allen is going to get his way or Punahele is going to get his way. And the unfortunate thing about this is that since we haven't seen any takedown attempts against Puna thus far, it's kind of hard to know who's going to get their way here. And you're going to have to leave it up to your own research to figure out which one of these guys is going to get their way. So let's see what you guys are talking about here in the chat. Maybe you're talking about what a dumbass I am for doing half this fucking podcast with no stats on the screen at all. All right. So Thomas asking, Jan is no distance parlay with Allen, no distance. I love it. Yeah, I think that's a great one. And you'll get plus money on that one too. So yeah, that's a good one, man. You could even do the under 2.5 with Giannis, I believe, and get even more value, because I just see that fight ending. I don't see that fight starting the third round. And frankly, I don't see Soriano Allen starting the third round, because somebody's going to get their way, and whoever does is going to finish this fight. So we got PayPal in the room. He's saying Puna was Francis' wrestling partner for what it's worth. Really? No kidding. Well, Puna's huge, dude. I mean, that's something. He could probably hang with him too, because Francis has got a judo background, so Francis will have those really good upper body takedowns. But Puna could probably shoot double legs on Francis and get him all day on him, I'm sure, because those judo guys aren't good at defending single legs or double legs. We got Nick Alexander. Okay, in light of that, I'm taking Puna. If this fight IQ hasn't improved yet, it probably is not going to. Well, yeah, and that's the thing, too. His fight IQ could improve, and he could shoot for takedowns, but since we've never seen Puna defend them, he might look really good defending the takedowns, land some elbows, land a big uppercut, and just sleep Allen. So even if his fight IQ has improved and he knows that grappling is his path to victory here, there's no guarantee that the state champion wrestler is going to make it easier for Brendan to take him down. So it's very, I mean, just spoiler alert, I am leaning Puna here pretty heavily, because, I don't see Allen necessarily being able to get this fight to the ground and then stay on top, because if he's on the bottom, you don't want a slab of marble like Punahele Soriano on top of you, dude. You see the way that guy is built. He's just a monster. He's just built like a brick shithouse. So, the kind of ground and pound that dude's going to land if he gets on top of you is something that you don't want to be, rolling for leg locks. You're going to get your skull split. So, yeah, man, this is going to be an interesting matchup, man. But Puna is just so powerful. If Brendan doesn't get his way right away, I think he's going to have big problems. We got Riff Raff saying Allen's head movement doesn't exist, and it does not. It does not. I mean, man, Roberson was catching him with everything. Before that, Strickland was catching him with everything. Before that, Kyle Dawkins, when that fight was on the feet, Dawkins was landing every jab and every hook that he threw. And for some reason, he would try to take it to the ground after he landed those strikes. So that was a little bit weird. We got DFS. If Allen is forced to strike with Puna or chooses to strike with him, it's going to be a rough night for Allen. Yeah, it's going to be. He's going to wake up in the hospital. Hold on, man. That's a rough night. You got that right. And we got Dave laughing at me, and I deserve it. And we got PayPal saying, long day, Weezy. That's right. It's a long day, and it's going to be a long weekend for your Uncle Weezy. I'm going to lose a lot of brain cells this weekend. But I will be back for Stat Diggers. I'll be ready for you guys. We got DFS. I like the point you made about Allen going for takedowns and tiring himself out if he can't get them. And yeah, that's the thing, man. Who knows how easy it's going to be for Puna to even be taken down. So, yeah, that's a good point there, and I mean, he could easily gas out. I mean, who's going to be the first one to gas out? It depends on what the game plans are and how the fight plays out. It's hard to know that. We got Nick saying, yeah, I can't see how Allen gets Puna down when Puna has that solid wrestling background. Yeah, and we're just, but that's the thing. No takedown attempts against Soriano. And when you watch the regional scene footage, you don't see any either. So it's so hard to know. I think it's just kind of like been in everybody's mind that, oh, this guy's a state champion wrestler. I'm not even going to bother to try to take him down. But it's becoming pretty clear that if you stand and bang with Puna, that's not going to work either, because he's punting dudes' heads into the third row. So, yeah, man, it's going to be a really tough row to hoe here for Allen. We got Riff Raff saying, yep, he's going to have to clinch up and wear on Puna, or at least test Puna's takedown defense. And yeah, he's going to have to. But if he's unsuccessful with that, man, he'll probably get caught on the way in, or maybe he'll gas out before Puna does and just get knocked out if he's unsuccessful trying to drag him to the ground. We got my guy Z's MMA in the room. What's up, Z? Puna KO round 1. Allen has only had success versus non-wrestlers. Standing with Puna is early. It's dangerous for anyone. Yeah, I'm right there with you. And I think that the first round KO is probably the most likely scenario. This, 4% knockdowns per total significant strikes landed, and a guy who is as hittable as Allen is. Yeah, man, it's a really, really bad recipe. I can't believe this fight's a pick'em still. I knew Allen in high school, rooting for my boy. Deducted coming in. You must be from Covington, Louisiana? Is that where my man Brendan Allen was from? I know he's a Louisiana boy. I think he's a great fighter, and he is a very, very young man. So there's a lot of room for an improvement. And I mentioned it before. This guy's at Sanford. We might see his striking improve by leaps and bounds. Brendan Allen is not 32, 33 years old. He's 25 or 26. What is he? I already forgot. He's 25 years old, you guys. 20 fights at the age of 25. So let's do this. Let's look at Brendan Allen's experience, because we're going to go into the strength of schedule numbers here. Yeah, and Deducted saying he's a good dude. I totally believe it. Actually, I've heard that quite a bit, that, outside of the cage, he's a very nice guy. Inside of the cage, he's quite mean, and he's got vicious ground and pound. I wouldn't want to be in a cage with that guy, that's for sure. So we see that the inside the UFC experience, which we'll also look at on the advanced stats here. But what I want to bring your eye to is what happened before the UFC. And we see some names on his resume here. Tim Hiley was 7-0 when he fought him in UFC. Moses Marietta was 8-1 when he fought him in LFA. And then he lost a title bout, which went all 5 rounds, to Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. And prior to that in LFA, this guy was fighting Eric Anders. And he was fighting Eric Anders when he was 21. That was in 2017. He was fighting Anthony Hernandez in a 5-round bout for the title in 2018 when he was 22 years old. So this guy's been fighting championship fights. He's really good. He's got great experience. And he's had some really good, and the losses, Trevin Giles, Eric Anders, and Anthony Hernandez are all UFC fighters, and those were his only 3 losses before coming to the UFC. So when he was fighting in Legacy and LFA, he was fighting some of the top-level competition on the regional scene that there was. And he was fighting these guys when he was 20, 21, 22 years old. And he's got wins over Sidney Wheeler, too. He's beaten some good names before he got to the UFC. But let's look at the strength of schedule metric here. And I'll get that out of there. And we can get this up on the screen right here and go through these numbers. So we see that the ratio for Brendan Allen overall is a 2.5, while for Soriano it's 0.83. So the average record of a Brendan Allen opponent is 5 wins and 2 losses. So while not incredibly experienced, a very good win-loss record. While the average Punahele Soriano opponent has a 1.67 win and 2 loss record. So Puna's fighting less experienced fighters who have losing records on the average. So in his 3 UFC fights, one of them being a Contender Series fight, he hasn't really got a signature win yet. We've got Dusko Todorovic, who got in on the Contender Series, Jamie Pickett, who got into the UFC on the Contender Series, and Oscar Pichota, who I believe now is even cut. And his last win before the UFC was Jonathan Pati, who came on the Contender Series later on and lost. And so then before that, you don't really have any signature wins. And so there's definitely a level of experience in terms of who these guys have fought experience for Brendan Allen. And then there's all that pro experience for Brendan Allen, where we've got 12 pro fights, 140 minutes of cage time. another year in the game, and he's been a much busier fighter. So when I look at all these numbers and we kind of sum them up, I'm looking at Brendan Allen and Puna both being very young. But you got Allen with those measurables advantages, 6'2" to 5'11", 75-inch reach to a 72-inch reach. The southpaw, I always like to give the southpaw a little bit of an advantage because southpaws can be tricky. But Brendan Allen has fought a couple in his day, I'm sure. We've got so those. I think there's some measurable advantages for Brendan Allen. I think there's an experience advantage for Brendan Allen. I think there's a potential grappling advantage for Brendan Allen, but we don't know how big that advantage is going to be, or if he'll even be able to use that. And then there's definitely a strength of schedule advantage for Brendan Allen. Now, for Puna, you're leaning on that power. You're leaning on that ridiculous power, and you're leaning on the fact that while the fight has been standing, Brendan Allen has been so incredibly hittable, and Punahele Soriano is so incredibly powerful that it's really hard to see any scenario where this fight stays standing for more than 4 or 5 minutes where Brendan Allen doesn't wind up getting knocked out, at least in my opinion. And I know he could be making big time improvements over there at Sanford. And I know he could be, he's young and could be making the kind of improvements that we don't see coming, that sometimes you see young men like this making. But Puna's young too. He's 28 years old. He's getting better too. He's only had 3 fights in the UFC. So maybe he's working on his takedown defense. Maybe his punches are getting straighter and even more powerful. Maybe he's learning how to conserve a little bit of energy and how to box a little bit better. So, I can't know whether Brendan Allen's going to be able to easily get this fight to the ground. So I feel like I have to lean Puna because the advantage in the striking is huge. The power advantage is huge. The fact that this guy has been a state champion wrestler is such a huge thing to have in your back pocket in any mixed martial arts fight, especially when you're fighting somebody whose strength has shown to be grappling. Being able to use that wrestling in a defensive way is a great way to win fights, and it is a great way to not take a ton of damage over your career. So, we see the 33% control time against, 37% control time for, meaning 70% of Brendan Allen's fights taking place in control time positions. So is he going to be able to make it that kind of a fight here? Because if he can make it that kind of a dirty fight, use that experience advantage, use that reach advantage, use that height advantage, and that potential conditioning advantage, because we don't know how Punahele really looks late in fights when he's being tested. See, he went to distance against Jamie Pickett, but Jamie Pickett wasn't pushing a pace like Brendan Allen's going to push. So, we just don't know how Puna's going to look under that kind of pressure, because Brendan Allen is definitely, when he's at his best, a pressure fighter, using that wrestling, using that grappling, trying to get on your back. So, let's see what you guys are saying. Or, wait, let's not. Let's go into the advanced stats here, and we can kind of just take a look through the UFC record here. We got Brendan Allen on the screen right now. And if we look at the wins for Allen, you'll see that he's been fighting some pretty credentialed competition here. Now, he came in on the Contender Series and beat an 0-1 Aaron Jeffrey. But right after that, he gets baptized against Kevin Holland, 9-4 in the UFC. And he really used his wrestling there. He got a couple of takedowns. He got 173 seconds of control time, and really used that in order to get that sub in the second round. And then we see Tom Breeze, where he got that top control time because I don't know if it was Breeze that shot a takedown or if there was a knockdown in this situation, but definitely that fight was finished via ground and pound by Allen there, and he got 254 seconds of control time to only 12 for Breeze. And then we saw the Kyle Daukaus win. It was a great back and forth battle where Allen won the first 2 rounds pretty handily, and then Daukaus came back in the third and almost finished him. But, it was a great scrap, and we showed that both of those guys, Daukaus and Allen, had a ton of heart, and that was a great fight. And then you saw Strickland really just kind of take care of business on him. He got no control time. He shot for no takedowns. And he didn't get a takedown for 3 straight fights here. He didn't get a takedown in the Roberson fight, in the Strickland fight, the Daukaus fight, or the Breeze fight. But he still won the Breeze fight via ground and pound. Breeze got a takedown. They were both 0 for 1 on their takedown attempts, so I forget how that fight got to the ground. It might have just been something sloppy. And And then we got the Robertson. He won that one via a leg lock, but he got a takedown about a minute 40 into that fight. But yeah, when he gets takedowns, he's definitely dominating and winning by submission. 2 takedowns here, and he wins in the first round via submission. He got 2 takedowns here, wins in the second round via submission. He got 1 takedown here, he wins in the first round via submission. So Brendan Allen, in those 5 takedowns that he's gotten in the 10 attempts, in every fight that he's gotten a takedown, he's won that fight by submission. Is he going to be able to take down Puna? I don't know, man. You guys tell me. What do you guys got for your Uncle Weezy here? Because now you need to help me out. I put up all these numbers. I'm trying to tell you guys all the possible scenarios. Now this is like quid pro quo. You got to help me out. Let's see what we got going here. We got Riff Raff saying, the endless conflict in MMA betting, heart versus head. Man, that's the endless conflict in basically everything that you do in life. Do you follow your heart? Do you follow your head? I don't know, man. Sometimes it's hard. We got deducted. LOL, no doubt. Yep. We got my guy, Billy Briz, in the house. Billy, what's happening, man? Thanks for joining us. What is up with you, dude? I'm nice and crispy here. I'm getting ready for my golf trip. I'm doing my last Balls Deep breakdown of the week. Thanks for joining us, man. We got RJ Kogan here saying that I think Soriano will take this. Man, I agree with you. I'm going with Soriano here too. And I think and I think whoever you like in this fight, take him inside the distance. And I think, the fight doesn't go to decision is a great bet here. We got D-Rich saying, let's get this money, Uncle Weezy. Let's get it. Let's take it from these bookies. We got DFS by the numbers informing us that DraftKings had the under 2.5 at minus 195 for some reason. Not sure if it's still there. Well, it better be there when your Uncle Weezy logs off, because I'm betting that if that's the case, man, because that is a good line, and we got to get that one. Thank you, Brady, for giving us the heads up on that. Let's see here. Oh, I missed a couple here. Hang on just a second. And my guy, Dan Goldstein, in the room. I'm late to the party. What's up, dude? Thanks for joining us, Dan. I appreciate it. We got RJ. I think Allen will shoot and get sprawled, but Soriano's strength is superior. Yeah, man. He's so strong, dude. The dude is so strong. You just look at his body, his arms, his chest. I mean, he looks like he was carved out of marble. It's going to be so hard to take that dude down. I can just imagine it had to be easy for him to win wrestling, just having an athletic gift to have a body like that. Dan Goldstein, the props just opened up in my book. 3-1 KO prop on Puna. Says he had to hop on that, and I like that too, man, because I think that's how he gets it done. We have seen Punahele Soriano get 2 wins by submission, I believe, in his career, but they were on the regional scene, and it was just guys who were looking for the door, and he got a rear naked choke when he was pounding the shit out of him with ground and pound. So I think a lot of those guys, they just lifted up their chin so that they wouldn't have to take any more ground and pound, and they can get out of there the easy way. We got Googie Gaming in the house. Good day, Uncle. Thanks again for the content. Thanks for coming in, man. Appreciate it. We got Z's here telling us he thinks trusting Puna money line as a pick'em is tough since Puna has shown a gas issue and is still a very raw fighter. I bet KO in round 1 separately since his win condition is weighted to the early power. Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. And, that's a great point, because if we kind of see a particular scenario that's almost as likely as the win, but you're getting plus 300 on the Puna KO prop, or you're getting minus 115 on the pick'em, and you kind of really see, this is either a first round win or it's a KO. Yeah, you might as well get those weighted bets. You might as well try to lock yourself into the bet where you're going to get much more return on your money. And then if you're wrong, hey, you lose the same amount of money. So that's a very good point, Z. That's the kind of analysis that we need in here in order to help out your Uncle Weezy when his head is sometimes a little someplace else. We got Timothy Maynard. Just hedge this one. Yeah, and hedging is not a bad way to go. I'm a former trader, so I got no problem with hedging out of certain things. We got Googie saying Soriano 7 finishes all in the first round. Yeah, that's right. This guy just flat out, he's not the kind of guy you can hang around with for more than 5 minutes without him landing one of those canned hams that he has for fists on your face, and then you're gonna go to sleep. We got UFC betting experience with us here. Puna round 1 KO prop. If that don't work, bet Allen live if Puna looks gassed out. Yeah, that's a great way to also hedge is by the live betting, where if you do see that Allen is getting takedowns easily, or if you see that, Puna's just not landing that big shot, he goes back to the stool after the first and he looks gassed, maybe you can just hedge that way out. We got our guy Aldo in the room. I can't wait for this fight. I'm going to hedge, but go heavier on Allen. Yeah, man, this is such a good fight, dude. I'm going to bet Puna for sure, but I'm also going to be betting that the fight doesn't go to decision because I believe that that covers both sides as well. And that might be kind of how I hedge my exposure to Puna. And we got Frank in the room. Puna should take this, but Allen is nasty if he gets an inch. I'm leery, Uncle Weezy, but I think the value is with Puna. Yeah, and like I say, if you Z made a great point earlier where if you think that the value is on Puna, but you don't want to just, minus 115 isn't quite a good enough price for you because you're worried about. I don't know what Puna's going to look like if he does get taken down. I don't know what his takedown defense is. Just take the fight doesn't go to decision, and then you can cover both sides. But yeah, man, I think the values with Puna as well. And I think if you bet that KO bet, you can get a lot more bang for your buck. All right. And let's look at the lines. So we've got the best fight odds up here. So let's look and see what they got for us here with the lines. We got Brendan Allen. Yeah, just still looking right like a pick 'em. In terms of where the money's going, it looks like Allen opened up at plus 185, but then it was immediately bet down to maybe plus 110. And then it looks like a little bit of money's been steadily flowing in on Soriano, but it hasn't really moved the line from maybe plus 105 to minus 110. So, yeah, it does look like maybe a little bit of money is actually coming in on Allen here, because that's the Allen and not the Soriano line. But let's look at some of these props. So we got the fight doesn't go to decision at minus 250 right now. We have got Allen by KO plus 650. That's probably not very likely. And then the only Soriano by KO line right here is plus 200. I wouldn't mind hitting that, but I'd still like to see something a little bit juicier. And we've got Allen by submission plus 240. We got Soriano by submission plus 850. And we got the Allen round one prop is plus 430. The Soriano round one prop plus 300. And let's see if we just got inside the distance lines here. Not really seeing the inside the distance lines. Oh, there it is. Allen wins inside the distance, probably around plus 170 to plus 180. And we got Soriano inside the distance, plus 163, plus 160. So, yeah, I think that's the way to kind of like get a little bit of bang for your buck is just whoever you're backing here, just take them inside the distance, because we don't see either of these guys seeing the scorecards in their wins barely ever, maybe 1 out of 10 times. And then on the losses, there's 50% of the losses have come inside the distance, but, they're all Brendan Allen's losses. So, we just don't know how Soriano would look in the second or third round. And we don't know how his takedown defense looks. So I think the fight doesn't go to decision is going to be the best way to bet this one. We got Dan saying that Puna has good striking IQ. He straightened his shots up against Dusko. Yeah, and Bisping, I think it was Bisping who pointed that out, that, he wasn't throwing the wide hooks anymore. He was coming straight down the pipe with them. And that left hand, that straight left hand that Soriano throws, so nasty. If he clips you with that, you're going to sleep. So, yeah, man, this is not going to be you don't want to be on the feet with Soriano for too long. And, yeah, and if he lands that straight left, man, you're going out. So the pick here is going to be Punahele Soriano by knockout. I love the fight doesn't go to decision bet here. I think that's a parlay piece. You can even take the under here if you're feeling a little bit better, that you want to get some better juice on that bet. You can get the I don't have an under here, but I got a fight doesn't start round 3 at minus 180, so it's a little bit better than minus 250. Thank all you guys for hanging out with me on another episode of Balls Deep Breakdown. I'm going on vacation. I'll see you Sunday night with my man DFS by the numbers for Stat Diggers on Pub Sports Radio, 6:15 Central Time. God bless each and every one of you. Thank you all for watching, and I will catch you guys next week. Good luck on all your action for UFC Vegas 32.